joining me now, first-class parents, Anne and Jordan Belfort. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you.
Perfect.
All right, let's start here. How many kids do you guys have, and how old are they?
So together we have 3, and one of them is 26, 24,
and 22.
And 22. Well, actually, part is yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
What a good
All right.
my kids' age.
Very cool. What type of sports or activities were they all into growing up?
Let's see. Carter was mainly soccer. He didn't have a choice. I think he was really pushed into soccer.
Played volleyball too.
And then he got a volleyball.
He was an amazing soccer player.
Yeah. My son played soccer, baseball, water polo, basketball.
Yeah.
He played everything.
Yeah. And then Chandler played soccer and volleyball too.
Yeah.
All the kids are really good athletes.
Okay, yeah, very good. Let me see, if you could, just take a minute here to hit my listeners, guys, with a little bit about your background. You want to start with you, Anne?
Sure.
Just a little bit about your background and what you do.
Oh, my background, what I do, I wrangle Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a full-time job. Before I met Jordan, I was a single mother, and I worked in mortgages. And after Jordan, the real work started.
Yeah, right. So, my background, everyone pretty much knows, right?
Yeah, but maybe for the 1 or 2 people on the planet who are unsure.
Well, I was born in New York City, right? And then I was an entrepreneur from a very young age. Everything from I was the kid with the lemonade stand and newspaper route, and then eventually I started a brokerage firm when I was very young. And it became massive. I made a ton of money, made a lot of mistakes along the way. It became a movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, where, at the end I ended up going to jail. And then along the way, though, I built a system for training salesmen that really was incredible and empowered people. So that really lived on. And eventually I circled back and focused on ethical persuasion and built a business around that, which obviously was, very easy to do in the wake of the movie, but even before that was pretty easy. But it's become a global brand, and there we are.
Yeah, it's an inspiring story, Jordan, especially the way you've been able to turn it around and find a way to provide so much service to other people now with what you do. It's really remarkable. And how old were you, Jordan, when you first became a father, and how did becoming a dad kind of change your perspective on life?
It was my early 30s. I think it was 31 when I became a dad officially. Listen, at that time, I looked at my daughter as the only pure thing in my life, pretty much. So, everything I had at that time was based on money, even my marriage. I mean, it was like all based on sort of, I wouldn't just say all greed and fueled, but just a wild, over-the-top lifestyle. It had all been somewhat corrupted. And my daughter came into the world, and she was this perfect little creature, and I just, I think I directed a lot of my love and used her to maintain some of my sanity as well by projecting stuff onto her. And thankfully, she turned out amazing. I mean, she just graduated from NYU, grad school, and she's just always been a great kid,
She is amazing.
She is amazing,
Yeah, well said. Yeah, and Anne, I mean, I have a lot of different, single parents and remarried parents on the show here. And one of the things that a lot of times they're a little apprehensive about is introducing their children to a new potential spouse. So when did you feel comfortable introducing your son to Jordan?
My son's an interesting character as far as that he was always a little old for his age. He was very comfortable meeting anyone. I didn't really date much, but he's the one that actually encouraged me to date Jordan. He was tired of his mom going through life alone. He was worried about me at 10. I don't know if I take that as a compliment or not, but he really wanted me to have someone to share my life with. So he basically forced Jordan on me, and he facilitated it, and he made sure Jordan and I spent a lot of time together.
Okay, yeah, very cool. Who would you say between the two of you there, who's the bigger disciplinarian when it comes to disciplining a kid?
I am.
There's not even a contest. Jordan is the easiest touch there ever was. I was known as probably one of the toughest moms in our whole town.
Yeah, as disciplinarian.
Yeah, and I'm curious to ask you this, Jordan, because, I mean, I drive Uber on the weekends here, and it's mostly kids that are in college, and they seem to have, no clue what they plan on doing with their marine biology degrees or their philosophy degrees. And it seems like right now is the best age for the entrepreneur and to be able to, be your own boss. So, in your opinion, is college necessary to succeed in today's world?
No, I think college is a total scam. And I'm totally. And now, that being said, the people like my daughter who wants to get a degree and use that degree, she's a psychologist and she's going to practice it, and she has a master's. Or if someone wants to be a doctor or a lawyer, there are certain, very defined engineer where there's certain formal training. But I would say outside that 10% of people, it's the biggest waste of time and scam in the world. All they do is they indoctrinate people into an ultra-liberal way of thinking. They turn them into soft marshmallows, and frankly, it's also a monetary scam because they pump up the price of college by allowing people to borrow massive amounts of money, which leaves people saddled with student debt, and they have no skill set to then pay back that money.
They have no critical
It's a total scam, college. Biggest scam ever.
Yes.
Yeah, and I love the messages that you put out there, too, about investing in yourself. And personal development is something that I think should probably be introduced at the grade school level, I think, because it seems like kids are coming out with no idea how to, build themselves up and market themselves into the marketplace to try to bring some value to it.
Well, gender studies is a tricky one to monetize.
You know what? I honestly, I really, at this point, it looks to me like that literally the old, we used to have, like, back in the McCarthy days, it was like the communist scare. They've actually won. They've actually infiltrated the institutions of education, the ultra-liberal leftist, literally communist way. I think it's really in there right now, and they've literally taken over the institutions of learning and and media, and it's destroying our country. I really do. I think it's destroying the country, and I fear for my kids because of that. I really do.
Yeah, and one of the things I talk about on the podcast a lot, Jordan, is that I feel that the fatherless crisis is playing a big role in this as well. We have too many kids growing up in this country without a father in the home. Yeah, and that's why I think it's so important. Like you say, you take on. How has it been the experience of the role for you playing as far as being the stepdad?
Oh, I mean, Bowen and I are really. He's like my own. I call him my own. So I don't distinguish him between my own kids and Bowen. He's like. I'm probably close with Bowen just because I spend time. Bowen works with me, so I see him every single day. But I think there's listen. I think it's important to have a father in the home. But that being said, Anne raised Bowen by herself and took on both roles and did an amazing job. I don't think it's just that. I think that being a father is crucial. Yes, obviously in a perfect world. But that being said, there's a lot of amazing kids out there that were raised by single moms. So I don't think that's the linchpin about what's going on. There's a lot more going on than just that.
I think it's more morality and family values and structure, and the parents willing to be parents. I never was shied away from being a parent and being a tough parent, and I think that's where the breakdown is. Parents are absent as parents, whether they're together or separate.
Yeah, very well said. And I think another thing that plays into this too is the technology. There's a big gap between a lot of the parents today and the way their kids are using the technology. So how have you guys kind of monitored or handled, technology, social media, and all that stuff with your kids?
Fortunately, I got lucky. We dodged that boat because by the time.
Oh, I totally had all my sons passwords.
No, but I don't know. But I'm talking when they were very young, though. It didn't exist, though. We missed the real wave of it. Yeah. But kids now 5 and 6 and 8 on social, like 10. Social media. By the time social media really came around, Bowen was young. This was probably 15 or 16, maybe.
And he was kind of against it.
And he was kind of And so it didn't really, impact. Also in terms of I understand what you're saying, that there's this, the parents have no idea what the kids are even saying. Well, how do you even access what they're saying online? There's all these.
I did.
Yeah, but again, it didn't really matter as much. It's very different now than it was when Bowen was.
But I think monitoring it is important. I don't think I don't think parents should be ashamed if your kids are living under your roof to have their passwords and monitor what they do. If they want to have autonomy, they can move out.
Well, there's no difference between my dad. My house when I grew up, it was no closed doors. You couldn't lock your door until you were the next one at 17, that's changed, 16. But before that, as I was an adolescent, what's the difference, a closed or locked door and a password that you don't access to? It's very similar,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, the movie Wolf of Wall Street was a huge success. And a lot of kids, a lot of, teenage guys that they're interested in pursuing a career, on Wall Street, getting into the stock market game. What advice do you have, Jordan, for the parents of those kids that are looking to get into the game?
I don't think there's anything wrong with, someone having a career in banking or Wall Street, however you want to refer to it. But I don't think that kids look at the movie and just think about Wall Street. I think they think about success. I don't think there's a really, I want to be a stockbroker. I mean, I think it's much broader than that. I think people look at the movie and they get most people, I think, get a really good takeaway, that they feel empowered by it and also see the mistakes that I made. So they want to emulate the good stuff and not repeat the bad stuff. Obviously there's always a couple of nuts in there that I want to just take drugs and go wild, right? I mean, that person would have done that anyway. But I think that the big thing is about success. I don't think it's. What do you think? You think it's Wall Street or it's more success, Anne?
I think it's success.
Yeah.
I think people. There's a glamour of Wall Street, and maybe it makes it seem easier to be successful in Wall Street, but it's work wherever you go.
Yeah, I think it's not just Wall Street.
I don't think they realize the hours they have to put in if they really want to be successful on Wall Street, just like anything else.
Yeah, that seems to be the key with success all the way around. And now, have all your kids seen the movie, and what's been their response to it?
Yeah, well, I mean, they've all seen it. I mean, I think they love it, and they obviously they know which parts are fictional, which parts are real.
But it's also their dad. There's a bit of an eye roll there because they don't see him as that guy. It's their goofy dad. So it's just a little bit of I can't. When you hear about your parents when they were younger, it's they have a little more of that response to it.
Well, my kids, they all see my life the way it is today, and they see the life that I've built in the last 10 years. I think that if I would not have done that, if that would have been the end of my story right there, I don't think it would be been a very, very good thing for my kids to see. Like, that's how their dad went down. But I think my kids, what they've seen is that the movie ended, and then I ended up building a life even, more amazing and pure and totally pure this time. So I think that they look at it as empowering, that their dad was this amazing comeback guy, and that's I think the gift I gave my kids was being honest about the mistakes I made, and then also going out there and rebuilding my life in a far better fashion. That's an example not just to my kids, but to any teenager or anyone for that matter.
Yeah, and it seems to be that's where the true success lies, when we start taking ownership and responsibility for our own lives. And it seems like today's culture seems to be blaming, the economy and the politics and everybody else but themselves here for where their life is ending up.
Yeah, that's a liberal mentality that's been taught to kids in school, that there's always, people are looking for handouts or safe spaces, and it's just absolutely. And by the way, I don't even think people really believe. I think this is a complete, it's a fraud by the media that they push this on us. They try to divide everybody. I think people are smarter than that. I think that people are realizing the media is completely full of shit, and they're putting a false narrative meant to divide everyone into two groups, liberals against conservatives. I'm not liberal. I'm not conservative. I have my own views that cross both. I'm the most socially liberal person you'll meet, and fiscally conservative. I'm not in a box. And my daughter's liberal, and we get along great. The media is trying to divide everybody and make it almost a war because they want to grab power. That's what's going on. So I'm very concerned right now. I think it's very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I had a chance. I had the opportunity to see it firsthand. I was able to get a press pass for a week at the White House. I was trying to get an interview with President Trump for the podcast, and I got to see it. And it was very eye-opening to spend a week with the White House correspondents to see what exactly goes on there. And you're 100% right. It's a total scam job. What's going on here?
The New York Times has become a rag. They're a rag. They become a joke, and everyone knows it. It's like, what do you say now? When what was once considered the most revered thing. So listen, getting back to parenthood though, what does that mean for you as a parent? I think that you have to make sure, my kids are grown now, and I think that they are what they are at this point. Obviously, I'm there to guide them when they ask, but I think for younger kids and parents who have younger kids, I think you have to really, it's up to you to as a parent to really, instill in your kid that they can't believe the nonsense they read, after all the stuff they hear in school now even.
No, they need to be empowered.
Yeah.
All we're doing is disempowering everyone. They feel like they are victims of everything, and it's up to the parents to empower their children, that they have control over their lives and their happiness and their choices, and whatever situation they find themselves in, they are empowered to make a difference.
Okay, yeah. One example of this is like with Bowen. We were in a meeting here about a month ago, and one of the employees here was complaining about that that one of the relationships we had with a vendor and how they were wasting their time and blah, blah. And Bowen looked at the girl and says, you know what? It's your fault. It's up to you you're going to make a decision what you're going to allow someone to do to you or not. Take ownership of your part in it. And I was so proud of my son because he's like, that's the sort of thinking of taking ownership and not saying the world happens to me, but I'm the one that dictates what happens in the world around me, and through my actions, I can make a difference. So, I think my kids really got that, and I think it's probably one of the most important things you can instill in your kids outside of unconditional love, probably,
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, and I fell into this myself. I mean, my father was a used car salesman in the Bronx, and I grew up, with the wrong angle on life, trying to hustle everybody and scam everybody. I ran into some drug and alcohol issues myself, and then what really turned it around was when I started to change my philosophy, and a lot of it came through reading. I fell in love with reading, and I started to read guys like Napoleon Hill and James Allen and stuff like that. Well, was there anything in particular, Jordan, for you as far as what happened to turn you around from the life that you were living to a life of service that you have now?
Okay.
Well, I think that
your children.
Well, number one, I think that Napoleon Hill, Thinking We're Rich was the first book I read that really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I was already doing it too. I was, had a lot of. I was born with a certain mindset. I have a certain way of thinking. I think everyone has their own sort of genetic predisposition. Mine was very much weighted towards entrepreneurship and stuff like that. And I was raised really well. I didn't have to become something new. I had to return to what I was before I went in this wild journey. Because I was raised well. I didn't intend on doing anything. Like you said, you were raised by your dad, and I get that, and I respect the fact that you can identify that your dad probably didn't instill the best values in you, and then you learned through your own mistakes and through reading and self-improvement, and you got yourself to the person you are today, right? I didn't have that. I had amazing parents. My parents instilled all the right morals in me, almost to a detriment because some of them were disempowering financially, but in terms of actual morality and ethics, I didn't have to be sort of become something I wasn't raised. I was raised to be a good kid. I just took kind of a left turn in Albuquerque, so to speak. And then once I went to jail, my children and my love for my children really, the whole thing of wanting to be a role model for them, that was a big part of it for sure. What do you think, Anne?
Yes.
Anne thinks yes.
Well,
listening.
Yeah, listen, it's an amazing what you've done, and I'm so glad to see that there's people like you on social media because it's filled with so much garbage that's on there, and I don't even understand the point of it if you're not on there to try to sell something or to promote something or to bring some good value. Yeah,
I would not be on there. I agree with you 1,000. I would not be on there if it wasn't for business. No way.
I never had any social media accounts. I started this podcast a year and a half ago, and I never had any social media accounts until I started it, and I'm still trying to figure it all out, but what type of
fascinates me.
Yes, it's a very Anne looks at it like a science project.
Yeah, I like to watch who does what, why, all that.
I mean, I've had some of the other entrepreneurs like Bedros Keuilian on the show and Grant Cardone and them guys too, and it's just they say too that it's an addiction, like this social media stuff. It's just they have that same performance of like dopamine in the brain when they're searching for their likes and all that stuff. So it becomes very habit-forming.
It does for a certain personality type. I think the people who need that outside validation, of course, it becomes like dopamine. You need that extra hit. For people who are fulfilled in every part of their life, I think they can look at it kind of like a joke or for entertainment, but they could really care less how many. I
never look at likes.
Yeah.
I never look at anything like that at all. I use it.
Personality
I use it strictly. Bowen runs all social media. I honestly never go on it. It's just Bowen posts everything. He tells me what to do. Do this. Do that. He has a very good sense of what people want to hear. I'm too old for this stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of good careers in it for people that know how to use it the right way. It's amazing what's possible on there.
It does.
Yeah.
What's next for you guys here? What kind of goals or plans do you have for the future?
Well, I think that we're building a really solid business here, and a lot of business to business sales, and teaching people companies persuasion and how to close at a higher level, and B2C as well. But I think for Anne and I, it's really more.
My goal is to get Jordan's voice out there more. Here's the thing: he's a brilliant businessman, but I don't think people realize that he's just plain old brilliant, and that he can speak on any subject, sometimes a lot too long. But he's a wonderful person to hear from, and I'd like to have his voice be one of the ones we're hearing more of rather than the talking heads that everyone's being forced to listen to who really don't have any intelligence or basis for their opinions or what they're spouting.
Yeah, I would love to see that as well, because I think his voice is definitely needed right now in our country more than ever. Just his influence on his ideology, on how to become successful, It's definitely a voice that's needed.
Yeah.
Oh, and on every subject. Let me tell you, you can ask him about any subject, and he has the backup, the facts, all in his head to support everything he says. He's not just one of these people who's talking from opinion. It's from well-researched and well-thought-out process that goes on super quick in his head.
Yeah, very cool. All right, last thing I want to hit you guys here with, I love to ask all the parents that I get on the podcast. I'll start with you, Anne, here. What type of advice do you have for that new or about-to-be parent that's out there listening?
Number one, you chose to bring this child into the world, so you owe them everything. If you don't get to go out all the time or sleep all the time, you owe that to your child. You cannot love them too much. They cannot manipulate you until they're about 6 to 8 months, and then you should have discipline as well, but never with the absence of love. Love should come first, unconditional love, but with structure. But you owe them. And I'm really tired of seeing parents trying to be selfish and say, I got to prove to my kid, how you live life for yourself. No, sorry, then you shouldn't have had a child.
Yeah, very well said. Jordan, what kind of advice do you have for that new or about-to-be parent that's out there listening?
I think that the one thing that my dad and my mom, for that matter, instilled in me that I think a lot of parents don't do is I always knew that I was loved unconditionally. I never, ever had a day that went by in my life to this very day. My dad passed away last week, and to the grave, there was never one day in his entire life where I didn't know, without even having to question, he loved me unconditionally. Same with my mom. And I think that is something that I've instilled in my own kids, and they know that for sure. And I think that parents who don't do that are really damaging their own kids in terms of self-esteem and just their own, compass of the world. When you don't have that sort of that rock to know that your parents truly love you, I think it's really dangerous.
I agree.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Anne and Jordan, you guys are first-class parents all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time on First Class Fatherhood.
Thanks. Take care.